not so related using JQL, Jira query language, and also have those acted upon. So it's a way to extend your rule execution beyond the trigger issue. So its simplest form, in its very, very simplest form, an automation works basically a trigger, an action. What this means is you don't necessarily have to have a condition, depending on the context. I could have my automation say, hey, I have a scheduled trigger, a time-based trigger, and when that time-based trigger is met, the condition for that is met, I have, let's say, a report sent out, I have a notification sent out. In that case, I only have just a trigger and the action. No conditions in this context. Very simple. I check for something like new topic added, new ticket created, and I perform an action. In this case, I could create a folder on Google Drive. I could send a notification out, add a comment to the ticket. Pretty simple. In a more ideal scenario, bringing all the components together, this is what your automation could look like. So you have your trigger, right? You could have trigger perform, again, actions without checking for conditions. Or you could have your trigger check conditions before performing actions. So if conditions are met, actions are on, and your automation ends. You could also have some sort of if-else scenario where you have multiple conditions. So if the first condition is met, do this. If they're met, that's not the first one, perform a different set of actions. And you can have that, going for as long as quite a number of components, because we have a limit, but the limit is very huge. I think it's about 65 components per automation rule. So you could have that going for as long as you want until you have a catch-all condition to say if none of the preceding conditions are met, do this. It could be do nothing or just do certain set of actions as well. So this is basically the life cycle of a basic automation rule. Basic or advanced, they usually look like this. At this point, I'd say we dive into Jira. Before we dive in, just based on the explanation I've just done, does anyone have any questions? Just one or two questions. Okay, go on now.
Okay, so my question is, you listed out some of the components that consist of a workflow generally, or an automation generally. And so what's at some point I intend to skip one? Does that mean my automation is not going to work generally, or it has a particular, does it have a particular synergy that it works? It has a particular flow that it must go. Can I skip any of the steps you just talked about, or it has to go in that sequence?
Okay, so no, it doesn't necessarily have to go in that sequence. I think the only component that can't be skipped is the trigger. You have to have two primary components, a trigger and an action, right? You don't necessarily have to have a branch. You don't necessarily have to have a condition, but you need to have a trigger and a branch. That's the simplest form of an automation rule. When something happens, you want it to do something. When X happens, do Y. That's the simplest form of an automation. So you can skip conditions, depending on your context. You can skip branches, but you cannot skip trigger because that's what kicks it off. And it doesn't make sense for you to have an automation that does not perform any action. Then it's not really doing anything, right? So those are the two major components. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right. So I'll just share my screen. Let me know when you see it. Okay. So what I'd like to do today is I could have prepared a bunch of automations to just explain and show off, and probably I was go through them. But I'd like to take you guys through my thought process in designing automation rules as well, right? So I want us to look at the setup of a software project in here, look at the tickets, we look at ideas on how we can maybe make the process a bit more quicker, and how we can provide certain resources for the team members of this project. And using our assessment, we build a few rules to automate the things we point out. So starting off, I'll just go to the list. Okay, I think it's coming up. Yep. So here we have a bunch of epics that have stories. And just for those that are not too familiar with what epics and stories are, there are types of tickets you can create in Jira. And before I proceed, let me just see if I can do a quick detour on that. So in Jira software, we have a couple of work types. Let's start from the top, because there's a bit of hierarchy to it. We have what we call an initiative. An initiative can be seen as an overarching goal that encompasses, usually cuts across multiple departments or teams within an organization. It could be like something like, this course as an organization, we are looking to start a new application. I want to deploy a new application as part of our services. That application, that's a new initiative, right? It's the new idea. So below that, we have epics. So as a company, okay, we want to build an application. What are the major components of that application? What do we need to actually have that set up? At eye level, that could be, we want to have a payment structure. So it probably has a payment arm to it, payment services. So that could be an epic. We could have a logistics side to it, just to zoom in. So that could be another epic. So at the eye level, you have this big chunk of work that could be under your initiative. So we have the big idea, which is the initiative. You have big chunks of work, which are epics. And then from there, you go to stories. And stories are what you have for your engineers to actually work on. Stories are, just like they say, typically user stories. For a payment gateway, you can say, okay, we need to implement REST API to fetch, let's say, the Paystack portal. Now that's an actionable item that an engineer can copy. So that's a pretty simple hierarchy within Jira software. You have your initiative, to your epic, to your story, and then we have bugs for when there's an error or problem with the application. And that usually comes from users, ideally, after deployment. And you have tasks. Tasks are just distinct piece of work that does not really relate to the larger body of work, but they're tasks that need to get done. A small, distinct piece of work that's not really related to the larger picture. Okay, so back to automations. So looking at the list I showed earlier, we have epics. Most of what you saw there were epics. And within them, we have stories. So I hope that makes more sense now. User interface revisions is a big chunk of work. And within that, we have read and writing on signature screen, optimize for tablets and other device sizes and whatnot. So these are actionable items. So let's pick a ticket here and see what can be done for this team to help make their life better. I'd like to start from their workflow. Let's see, what do they have? A good number of statuses here. To do, in progress, done, architecture review, testing, accepted. Let's see. So for in progress today, they would have to assign a ticket themselves and manually transition the ticket to in progress. Now, maybe in this scenario, we have some agents that after assigning the ticket to themselves, they just leave the ticketing to do and start working. And that does not really reflect what is being done on that ticket, the stage of work that they are in. So the manager is thinking, is there a way to have the ticket automatically moved in progress so they don't rely on their agents actually making that transition? Of course, that is something we can do via automation. We can have an automation that checks when the assignee field is populated and then have that automatically transition the ticket to in progress. So this is a very generic example. Before I move on, just let me know if I'm moving too fast, or if you have any question at any point in time. And I know Lewis is here. If there's anyone on site that has a question, you can just step right in and just ask the question on their behalf. Okay? So back to the automation. So we have a use case now. We want to create an automation that sends tickets to in progress from to do when work items are assigned. Okay. Let's go to space settings. And at this point, I believe everyone is following along on their instance. I forgot to ask, do we all have our instance open? Okay, thank you, Lawal. Can you confirm for me if everyone else has the instance on site, Lewis? Good to go, okay.
That's good.
All right, so to navigate to where you'd have your automation rules built, you click on the three dots beside your software project. The name of our software project today is Mobile Dev. So I'll go to space settings. Click on automation. So in your case, you probably don't have any automation set. And the workflow I just showed, the workflow that we have on our instance, you can use any transition to test this. But in our case, we want to do to in progress. So in your case, it could be another status that is before in progress. Just whatever it is, that's what we want to add within our rules. So it will make a bit more sense when we start building. There are a bunch of rules here. Do not worry about those. So I want to create our flow from scratch. Okay, so before we create, if you've opened your flow page, you could have probably seen tour guide. You can skip that. You see a skip button at the bottom. And you know what? Let me see if I can have that also show for me. Okay, because I've created one before, it's no longer showing. But if that's what you see, kindly skip the tour. You see a skip button at the bottom. Once you do that, you see this page, this prompt to add a trigger. Let me get a thumbs up if we're there. Okay. Thank you, Davis. Anyone else? Okay. Good. Back to our flow. If you scroll down, we have categories of triggers, right? We have work item triggers. And here, again, just going into the thought process of when you're about to build an automation, you try to solve a problem. I'll be transparent to you. You don't have to know everything off the top of your head. Nobody really does. What is good about Jira is everything you can do is probably defined in the components here. At least what can get you started to a good extent is here. So I'd like us to scroll down and you can just see the options available. You can trigger your automation rule when a sprint is completed. You can trigger when a sprint is created, when a version is released, when work item is assigned. That sounds like what we were just talking about, right? When a work item is assigned, we want the ticket to get automatically transitioned to in progress. So that looks like the trigger, the ideal trigger for a use case, right? I'll come back to it, but looking at other triggers here, these are a bit more advanced, and for other context, you see this is the DevOps category, and this is more for DevOps related work where you'd have, let's say, Bitbucket or GitHub. When a branch is created, you can kick off a flow, an automation rule of that. When a commit is created, when a build is successful, a lot of options, just a lot of them. You have for approvals, this is more, I think we have approvals in Jira now, so this applies to Jira as well. For HR, this is a component for the Workday platform. But of course, you can interact with other HR platforms via the web request action. More on that soon. So not to overwhelm us, you can see we have a lot of trigger options here. We want to pick the work item assigned trigger. And you can see flow is run when the work item is assigned to user. This trigger needs no configuration. So we click next. Typically, do we have a condition to check for yet? Ideally, in our project, maybe based on, in a real life scenario, it could be based on a lot of factors. Based on components, you might want to limit the assignees to a bunch of users. So you can actually have a validation that checks if, let's say, the user that's been populated as the assignee is actually part of the right group. If they are, it stays. If not, it doesn't work. These are some of the things that you can do within here. But for our use case, we just want to trigger an action, something very basic to start with. So when work item is assigned, we want to transition. Okay. And under actions, I can scroll for a long time. We have a lot of actions for different platforms. AWS, Azure, a lot of interesting stuff here. But we'll keep it simple and focus more on work items. So we want to edit work items. So that's for Jira. And what do we want to edit? Let's see, status. As a status, I can't seem to find status here. So am I really editing work item? No. So what do I want to do? I want to transition the ticket. Fine, let's go back. I click on action. Let's see if there's a more appropriate action for that. I'll search at the top. And what do we see? Okay, there's actually an action to transition work item. Interesting. So what did we just learn from that is when you're building an automation rule, you can always just try to check and find the appropriate action, the appropriate condition, and the appropriate trigger. It might take you a bit of time to locate them, but there's a good chance whatever you want to do, there's a way to get around it using the available components, right? So here, let's read the description. This transitions a work item from one status to another. Okay, that seems like what we need. There's a field here that says destination status. We are trying to go, and let's just go back to our workflow and view it. And in your case, you can do the same. Check your workflow. Just take a bit of time. You check your workflow. Check the diagram. My workflow is simplified, but in your workflow, you could have transitions between the statuses, right? So I want to go from to do to in progress. The status might be different that leads to in progress. So check for that status and see where it leads. We're looking to go to in progress. So a question pops up in my head. What if I'm in a status that does not lead to in progress? What would happen then? There's no available transition to where I'm going to, right? That's what it means. So that means the automation will break. Now, I'll take a pause there. That might not make a lot of sense, but we'll see that in real time. So one of the ways to test your automation is you test it for success and you test it for failure. Right now, when work items are assigned, I want it to go to in progress. Okay. That's pretty straightforward. Let's save. Let's name our automation. Work item assigned transition to okay. I'll take a short pause there. Has everybody caught up? Do we have this or something like this on our side? Thumbs up. Okay, does someone have a question? Oh, go on, Davis. I saw your hands raised. Do you have a question, Davis?
Yes. Sorry, I missed the part where after you added the transition to work item. Yeah. So how did you add in progress?
Okay, so when you select the transition to work item action, there's this field that says destination status. You click in that field and then you search in progress and then you select. Okay.
Thank you.
Nice. So we'll save again. Okay, now that we're all caught up, it's time to test our road. So let's go back to the list of work items. Let's create a new one. Deploy API. API should be deployed. So I'll just create. Okay, so this actually defaults the assignee and it is automatically transitioned. Let's check the ticket history. On your end, you'd have to manually transition your ticket. Let me take it back to do and clear this. Okay. So this is how yours should look right now. You'd have your preceding status that leads to do, and you have the assignee field blank. So I want to assign this ticket now, and let's see automation in action. So as the agent, I'm assigning this to, let's say, Max Taylor. And there it is. You can see the status automatically toggled to in progress. Can anyone validate that they achieved that behavior when they just did the test? You create a new ticket and transition to the status before in progress, and then you assign your ticket. Can anyone confirm if that worked?
So I tried mine and I had an error. So I'm trying to see if I have access to that particular project. So if I'm trying to check that, and I'm trying.
You can so you can bring up your screen. We might actually learn from troubleshooting this. So troubleshooting is part of what we're trying to learn today. Just going through. Yeah, you can take over the screen.
Okay.
there might be other people that's currently experiencing the same. So solving this might help. And there might be another time where someone runs into this similar error, and doing this now will let them know how to go around it. So
Okay, can you see my screen, please?
yes, we can.
Okay, so I tried. Okay, so this was my automation, and I had some error. Okay, let me go back.
Okay.
So this was my flow. I had the work item. Yes,
yeah.
and transition the work item to in progress. So I scoped it to the design project, and I'm the owner. Then this doesn't necessarily have to be private or public.
That doesn't matter. I think for most of the rules we just saved, it will be private. So that doesn't really matter to the execution.
Okay.
So so the first step is we notice it didn't transition. Can we check the workflow?
Workflow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I created a task. Yeah,
okay, it's very similar to what we just had. But can you notice there is no in progress status in the task workflow for this?
Yes.
So for the sake of this, you can change your own status to maybe design.
Okay.
So that would be a valid status for your workflow.
Thank you. So I'll do design and I'll save.
Save. Now you can try it again.
Okay, so create a new ticket or I transition my issue?
Because your workflow is simplified, you can just transition it back or just create a new ticket for the sake of everyone watching. Let's create a new ticket.
So I got this such as I'll call it demo ticket. Okay, I just create this. Then I view my tasks and assign the task to let me assign it to somebody. Yes, then refresh.
Oh, yes. And there it is.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So, Lewis, is everyone on site good?
Okay. Can I stop sharing?
Yes, you can. Thank you very much for sharing. Davis, did it work on your end? Lewis, any feedback from on your side, guys? So yeah, I'll bring up my screen. I'll just refresh. Okay, great, Davis. So here we've solved a pain point for the manager, right? Now, when the agents assign tickets to themselves, it doesn't matter if they forget to transition it, it will get automatically transitioned. They don't have to be guessing if they started the work or not. All right. So moving on, we want to look at another scenario. So Lewis, you can just let me know if you're ready to move on. A thumbs up. I don't want to leave the guys on site behind. Can you hear me, Lewis? Okay, great. So next step is, let's get this network. So you can see how we kind of achieved that behavior. We created our rule, we tested it. Now let's do something interesting with our workflow. Our rule is pretty simple, there are no conditions, right? And frankly, there's no need to be because our workflow is simplified. But what if our workflow is not so simplified? So what I'll do is I'll update our workflow to be linear. And then we'll run the automation again and see what happens. So instead of any, I want to delete that. I want to make it linear. And for done, I want that to be the last thing actually. I'll set it to done. Let's accept that. And for architectural testing. And we'll save. Okay, so we have a different flow to our workflow now. So the tickets gets created, it lands into do, test in progress, architecture review, testing, etc. So what we'll do now is we'll test our rule for failure, right? So let's create a ticket. Let's call it deploy API 2. Deploy the second API. This Atlassian should be signed. Okay, so let's view our ticket. So our ticket is in to do. Now let's assume we want to bypass the in progress status. Okay, now let's assume an architecture review, right? I assign my ticket, assuming we want it to go from architecture review back to in progress when it's assigned, right? Let's do that and let's see what happens to our automation rule. Okay, our ticket is assigned, but we notice the status wouldn't change, okay? Let's take our automation rule and see what is going on. Okay, here we can see there's an error. Unable to transition your issue to the selected status. It's very simple to know why that is, right? There's no valid transition, and I can just refresh this. There's no valid transition between architecture review and in progress. So that would fail. So what can we do to make our rule more efficient and avoid train errors? So architecture review goes to testing. We want it to be able to go back to in progress when it's assigned, right? So one of two things. We actually don't want that. We want our rule to be smart enough to know when to action. What does it sound like we need in that case? So we need a condition in there to confirm that the status the user is assigning the ticketing is the to-do status. Only then should it action the transition to in progress, because if that happens in any other status, it's invalid. So what that implies is we need a condition within our rule to check that, okay, the current status of this ticket is to do, then move it to in progress. If it's not to do, there's no point in actually firing at all. So we can do that in one of two ways. So in between the trigger and the action itself, I'll add a condition. And we can also do the same. Let's add a condition. Now, you can see from the description, this narrows the scope to specific, here it says specific user groups, but we want to narrow our scope to only fire this automation when the ticket is in to do. So it only applies to tickets that are in the to do status. it narrows it down for us. And that way, it doesn't break the rule itself. It's cleaner that way. So here, let's look at the conditions we have. We have a smart values condition. This is a very fun tool to play with, but we won't get into that now. It's a bit technical. But here we can ask field questions. We can have an if or else condition options. And this plays into what I showed earlier on the flow chart, where you can check if something is true, the action, else, and you can just have an if-else chain within here. But what we are doing is we want a work item fields condition. Because status is a field, right? So what are we trying to check? We want to check whether a work item field meets a certain criteria. Okay, what's the name of our work item field? Status. What's the criteria the status have to meet? It has to be in the to-do status. In my context, the to-do status. In your context, the preceding transition to in progress could be different. Make sure to check your workflow and add that status in here. So we want the status to be equals to do. And we save. So what have we done here? We will only run this action only when tickets are in to do. So I'll go back to this ticket. I'll clear the assignee, right? And then, let me just refresh. I'll reassign it and let's see what the automation has to say now. Maybe we'll see some error or there'll be no action taken. So I'm assigning it back to Max Taylor. Okay, we can see no transitions still going on. Fine. That is expected. There are no valid transitions. Let's see the audit log. Okay, did we notice some differences? Instead of receiving an error, it says no actions performed. And why? Let's check. So here, you can actually check. This matches our trigger, the work item assigned trigger, which, yes, that is true. We just assigned that ticket. You can see under the conditions, it says the following issues did not match the condition, which is also true because our condition says the status has to be to do, but our work item is in architecture review. So that automation is not working at all. It's not firing. So to test it for success, I'll create a new ticket that would flow through, and then we will again and see how automation works as expected. Let's create a ticket called QA API. Okay. Okay, so here we're in to do, right? Let's assign it. Based on what we have in our rule, this should transition to in progress because our condition should be true. It should be met. So I've assigned the ticket. Okay. That has transitioned to in progress. So this is a very simple scenario where you have a condition scope down the execution of an automation rule. I'll take a short pause here. Does anyone have any questions on what we've done so far? So we've worked with a trigger, we've done an action, and we've added a condition, right? I'd just like some feedback if you're still following. A thumbs up. Beautiful.
I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So let's say I was following the process and okay, let me take a step back. On my workflow build, right, I still have everything to be transitioned to role. Would that work, or I need to create a transition between each of those statuses, right? Because when I tried, I didn't tamper with my workflow. And when I tried doing that, I got an error on the block is name. So now I have deleted the block, right? So when doing that, I'm at the point of working on getting my workflow in, probably to just suppose all I'm asking is it compulsory I transition my statuses to each of the status, or I leave it as transition to all as it is? If I don't do that,
Okay.
what happens?
Okay, so you can just try to bring up your screen again, please, for visual representation, so everyone can follow visually. So the answer to your question is, if you leave your workflow as it is, just showing all, right? And let me just stop sharing so you can take over. Nothing would happen because you have an all transition between statuses. What that means is any transition between any status is allowed. So your automation would work fine, right? So in your case, you wouldn't need a condition. That's why I updated the workflow on my side to be linear, so we can test for failure. Because you'd meet different type of workflows, right? In the real world, not all workflows will have all transitions between them. Some are more linear. You have to go through a status to get to another one. And in that case, if you're in the wrong status and try to assign the ticket and you still expect it to work fine, it won't. Yeah, thank you. But in your case, when you have all transition for everything, it would work fine. Yes. So you don't need to update this. Your would work fine, but you wouldn't be really able to test for the condition as well, if you catch my drift. But I hope that answers your question. Simple answer is, if you have all transitions, it wouldn't break your automation.
Right.
It will work fine.
Okay.
But if it's a linear transition where one leads to another, you need a condition to validate that you're in the right status before the action is carried out.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawal. So any other questions before we move on? All right, so we have a trigger condition action. There is one other component. Oh, Davis, please.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, since it's an if-else condition, do we need to add the else, or just leave it as?
That's a very good question. The condition map hopping. So there are different types of conditions, right? The one that is actually selected is work items field condition. Now, I know it has this if shown, but this is actually a work item field condition. And if you just do the user condition, you get something similar. If reporter is empty, this applies to more user.
Are you sharing your screen?
I'm not sharing my screen. Apologies. Yes. Sorry about that. Thank you for pointing that out. Can you see my screen, Davis? Okay, so let me just take it a bit back. So adding a new condition here, we have quite a number of them. The one you see me use here is a work item fields condition, this one. And you can see it says if status, so it could be any field, right? Assignee, due date, this applies to any field. The one you're referring to, the if else, is a type of if statement or a type of condition. So if I bring that up, it has a different structure. So I click if else. You see it's a bit indented. And the difference with if else is a bit more powerful than your generic work items field condition that's just an if, a simple if. I can add multiple conditions within my if else statement. And right now, I think we should actually we should work with an if else. So this should probably demystify it to everyone. So let's look for a use case where we have an if else used. So we have a couple of fields here. Let's see. Okay, so I'd like to kill two birds with one stone. So we have the parent field here saying MOBL2, mobile app authenticator. That is the epic of our ticket. Just going back to the hierarchy I said earlier, epic is a bigger chunk of work used to categorize work items. So here we want to test out an if else statement. So we want to check in our rule if the parent is this, right? We want to add a comment to it. So if the parent is this EG type, just checking, we want to add a comment to it. And let's open that up and give you more context. We have quite a number of tickets under this one, right? And most of them are not done. So what we are trying to solve for is we want to grab all the child items for this epic and do an if else. So if the parent is this, do this, and then we do an else. Else, we are going to work with another ticket, the vendor dashboard. Else, if it's this, do this. Let's add comments to the child item. So let's try that out. Just to take it a bit back, let's leave our rule. Let's create a new rule for that one, actually. We don't want to make automation messy. Okay, let's create a new flow. So let's make this actually a time-based run. Let's use a different trigger. We'll leave the time configuration for now. Let's move on. I'll explain that later. So what we want to do is we want to check for epics. If epics match certain EU types, add certain comments to it. So we want to do if else condition. So we have a few options here. Do we have the parent field showing up here? There is not. What else can we do? Let's see the list. Related work items. Okay. Oh, so we do have related work items, and we have the parent under that. So let's see. So these parent exists. So this is checking if our item has a parent, right? So the parent exists. Let's see. So we want to use Rovo. So let's say add a comment to the ticket. the detailed analysis of what is done so far. So here at Adam Hills, if parents does not exist, or if match specified JQL, let's say, we want to keep it simple. Let's start with exists, does not exist. So later on, we get more specific with JQLs. I don't want to go into Jira query language yet. I don't know how familiar we are with it. So for the sake of the beginners, I want to keep it as simple as possible. So if parents does not exist, you just want to log action, right? You don't want it to do anything. So this is more of a log message within the automation rule audit log. Right? This doesn't really do anything on the trigger issue itself, doesn't do anything on the ticket. So this is the go-to action for when you don't want to do anything. So you can just log saying this ticket does not have a parent. Okay, I'll take a short pause there and just do a quick recap. So we have a scheduled trigger. Let's look at the time configuration here. So right now we want this to run every week on Saturday. But of course, there are various options. I can have this run on every weekday, Monday to Friday, if I'd like, and I'll specify the time. So right now this is meant to run 9 a.m. Monday to Friday, West African time, Lagos time. So this can show you the next run is 8, which is Monday at 9 a.m. So typically, you can have a Jira query here, but we don't want to do that actually. We want it to run for the entire project. So we save and enable. Add comments to tickets if they have a parent. Hope I'm not moving too fast for anyone. Okay, so incompatible components, let's see. So this is where branching comes in. I did mention it earlier, but I'd say give this a try. There are sometimes we have automation flags this, but it works. So what I'll do is I'll manually trigger this rule because it's a scheduled rule. I can run it manually myself. And let's see if we can bypass having to use a branch. Okay, let's see. So it did not give us any context in the org. It just says passed, but it didn't carry out any of our actions. So what we'd like to do here, let's add a fourth component. Let's use branching. So just a quick recap, what are branches, right? Branches allow you to extend actions beyond, again, beyond the trigger issue, the issue that triggered the rule. That's what branches literally do. So we have advanced branching, branch flow for related work items. That's what we're really interested in here. And you have branch on AQL. This is for Jira service management. It's currently out of scope. I wouldn't worry too much about this one. And for advanced branching, I wouldn't worry too much about this one as well, because you need to have a good knowledge of how smart values work to leverage it. So we just want to branch on related work items, right? So for related work items, again, you can see we have a lot of options. We have the current work item, which is current work item is the trigger work item. If you have subtasks on that ticket, you can bring them in the scope. If you want to check for children of a ticket, you have them here. If your ticket has a parent epic, you can find them here. So our ticket actually, and we can check, it actually has a parent epic. You can see the type of it is epic, and that's the parent of a ticket. So that epic has other issues would actually validate as well when we trigger this. So for each, let's click on epic parent. Just a moment. So what do we want to do? We just want to move the action in here. So I like to flip this the other way. Within the epic, for an epic, right? Let's see. We want to only get comments for tickets that are not done, right? So I'd like to if let's just do children or stories or other work items. Children, okay. If some of them match specified JQL. So for this JQL, I wouldn't want you to worry too much about it, but it's just to say status is not done, right? And looking at our workflow, how you know status to look for, you can view your workflow. The status I have for mine is done. So we really want to factor in work items that are in progress that are not yet resolved, right? So in your workflow, depending on your be resolved, that'll be in green. Just look for the status that's in green and use that within the automation, right? So I can validate query. And of course, we have some work items, a lot of them that may have done. So that we want you to scope it down and then we want to add the comment. So let's try this out and see how it works. We need to set this first. We've got some errors. Errors are good. Now let's see. Unable to branch flow as it requires work items to be stated in the context. Okay, so here, I already know what is wrong. The rule is saying that we need to define work items within the trigger for the branch to act upon. So what does that mean? Within our schedule trigger here, there's a JQL button here. So here, we can actually have a condition here as well, a jQuery condition. So this should trigger only on work items that are not done. But here, it doesn't mean that work item actually has a parent, at least with the trigger perspective. The check for if it has a parent would occur here because we are branching for parents. So work items that have children will be executed here. This for child work items that are not done. Please ask questions if you get confused. Okay, let's see. One last thing, we need to uncheck this one. This only includes work items that have changed since the last execution, because we've been executing this rule, nothing has changed in like the last 10 seconds. So I need to actually uncheck that. And now let's check the audit log again. Okay, it's in progress. So while that is running, some things just happened now. You see, as I'm walking through the automation, I come to the audit log, I check the errors that are reported. That guides me in understanding what is wrong and what I need to do to fix the automation rule. This is very, very common when you're building rules, especially a lot more complex rules where you have to maybe send web requests and do a lot of things. You'd need to come to the audit log. You need to be able to understand the message and what it means, right? This is the reality of building rules. Again, most times you probably wouldn't have it figured out from the start, but as you build and you see the mistakes you're making, you see the errors, you're able to fix them. Okay, we have a success. 104 seconds. Let's see. Let's see the related. Okay, we have 5 of them. This following is passed. So let's see our heaps. So nothing is here. And why is that? So back to our automation. Again, we figure it out. We are using Rovo. Again, Rovo is Atlassian's AI agent. What Rovo has done here is we give it a prompt. It has generated a response for us according to that audit log, right? Let me just bring that back so we see. So successfully generated response for prompt. But why are we not seeing that? Because the instruction I gave is to add a comment, right? So within automation, it has generated that comment for us. What Rovo wants us to do is we can grab that response, which is here, reference the Rovo's response in other steps. This one right here. So I'll copy this, and then right after the Rovo agent, I'll add an action. And then I'll add a comment. Now I can do comment on work item. And then I just add the Rovo response in there. Okay. Let's run it again. Give it a few seconds. So in a very simple, yet not so simple way, I wouldn't want to call it simple, but we've used 4 of the components we talked about today. We've used triggers here. we use branches to extend our rule execution to tickets parents. That's parents of trigger issues. But here is a schedule. We're just grabbing all child issues that are not resolved, right? We have a condition, making sure that those items are not done. We're using AI, right, to get detailed analysis of what is done for that epic so far. And then we want to add that as a comment. Okay. Comment on work item, comment added to issue. Okay, successfully generated. So let's pick up one of these. Okay, and what do you see? Detailed analysis of progress to date. So based on everything that's here and what's been done on this ticket, AI has done a beautiful job summarizing everything. So it did initial investigation and diagnosis, problem identification and root cause, actions taken and troubleshooting steps, data collected. Like, this is how interesting automation rules can be. So as a manager, right, if I need to get a summarized report without having to reach out to engineers what they're doing, they would have been adding comments on their individual tickets, their individual stories, right? They have been working on this, adding comments, doing everything. I need a very doing how automation does just that. Isn't it wonderful? So, like I said, this is scheduled to run Monday to Friday. So every morning, I can get detailed updates on every ticket working on one of the bucket items we have automatically within the Epic itself. And we can have this on a daily basis. That is love, isn't it? So I would like to take any questions for some of this. I know that's a lot. We've just done a lot, even though it looks small. That was a lot. We touched on some relatively complex concepts. So, and Lewis, just let me know if there are questions from guys that are on site. If you need a bit of time to catch up or follow up to this extent, let me know. If you're having some difficulty, you can bring up the screen and we'll walk through it together. Okay, none for now yet. That is good. That is good. Okay. So let's go back to our flow. Let's give it a more detailed name. Okay, I need to refresh. So I want to give this a name that better describes it. Just a minute. That is not coming up. Okay, there it is. Add daily updates for stories from their epics. So back to the project itself.
Can you scroll up a bit? I'm trying to work on the automation, please. So please, can you scroll up a bit on your automation? I want to ask a question.
Okay, let me navigate back there. Just a moment. The system's just taking its time today.
That's fine.
Okay, add daily updates.
Okay, I did a bit, yes. So when here now at the top you said schedule. So when you schedule, I'm trying to look for a way, or I'm trying to understand the automation behind the schedule, right? So here does this mean that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, does the automation add comments to the tickets at exactly 9 a.m. for the whole day, or how does that work? I'm confused.
Okay, so from Monday through to Friday at 9 a.m. West African time, a detailed update will be added to Epics, summarizing latest updates, the progress on all their child tickets.
Okay.
So that would happen once per day on a daily basis.
Right. Okay. So then Rovo does I'm trying to understand what Rovo does in between. Does it modify or fix the updates? I'm just trying to understand why.
So what Rovo is literally doing here is taking a look at all the epics and all the children, and is just getting all the key updates and summarizing everything into a response for you. That's what Rovo is doing.
Okay. All right. I think that answers my question.
So what I have here is a very broad prompt. And I just did it detailed analysis of what is done so far. Of course, the prompt could be more fine-tuned to make the updates more concise, more punchy, more targeted. But yeah, what I've just done is we will go in there, get us a detailed analysis, and I added that analysis as a comment to the epics. And yeah, thank you for bringing that up. If we notice, the epic is the one being acted upon here because our branch pointed to it.
Right.
Typically, the ideal flow of an automation is what actions are carried out are usually on the trigger work item. The issue that triggered it. But this is the joy of epics, right? You can target related issues. It could be children, subtasks, parents, whatever it could be.
Okay.
The list goes, yeah.
So it does not essentially mean or have anything to do with the hierarchy of that project, right? Strictly because we've already put it as epic, it stays epic. What if there are other hierarchies in that project? Okay.
So if there are other hierarchies, or let's say the parent, because you can have parent tickets that are actually not epics. So if you have parent tickets that are not epics, this is the one you use, parent. So this just find the parent work item. And what this does is, I think is better to show is for the parent field, in this case, that is an initiative. So your parent can be an initiative, but this just takes it a step higher, and these are the parents of Epic. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes,
or have I confused you more?
Yeah, I think it does. Thank you.
Okay.
I think David has a hand up. I don't know.
Okay, you can go on.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask how to, but I think I might have figured it out.
Yeah, so all you have to do is just connect to automation.
Yeah.
You see the connect button. Yeah.
Thanks.
So, and I think I can just talk about there are two Rovo actions in there. You can use Rovo, the LLM, which is what we used here, or you can use an agent. So just to digress a bit, Rovo agents are agents that you can actually build that performs defined specified tasks. For example, you can have an agent that is just in charge of summarizing tickets. You can have an agent that consolidates your knowledge bases from like 2 or 3 different sources, and answers it will provide to you will be just restricted to those knowledge bases, right? You can have Rovo agents it can do a lot, but again, they are defined tasks. If you need something more broad, that works similarly to how you have maybe Gemini work or ChatGPT, that is where you have this Rovo, just the generic Rovo AI. All right, so I'll just remove that. So it looks like we're still working on this in the background. Should we take a few minutes break to have it completed? I'd like to see this actually tested out. And maybe some of us can just share our results and see if we achieve the same thing.
Right.
Okay. So I'd say we take, I'll leave it on the screen actually, so we can look at it and follow. And I'd say let's take, would 10 to 15 minutes be fine? Yeah, I'd say, yeah, let's take 15 minutes break. We'll be back by 12:46. If you have any questions while you do it, just mute your mic and speak. Oh, you can go on, Davis. You have a question?
Yeah, Michael. Oh, so I tried to enable the rover again. It's not
Yeah.
working. It's saying ask a global admin to enable rover. I don't know.
Okay. Can you bring up your screen?
Do I need to use like a premium version for it to work?
That's the thing. I want to know what type of instance you're using.
Okay, let me share my
I
screen.
believe you're on a free plan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen now. Confirm if you can see my screen, please.
Yep.
So you say.
Yeah, so Rovo is actually not available on free plan.
Okay. Okay. All right.
You can probably just do the premium trial, but you'd have to cancel it before it ends.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And so my own question. So, please, can I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. So my own question. So I'm using a one premium site. So I was able to get Rovo working. So here on the comment section, trying to understand the comment visibility is going to be. Do we want the comment to be internal or share with the customer? And who should be? So here I'm confused in the sense that is it going to be, should it be open or just be the internal comments alone so I can be able to follow up personally without reaching out to the customer? Or necessarily should we configure it in sense that the customer also have updates, because we also want to give the customer, let the customer know that they are still being into consideration and they are still waiting on response for that tickets. What are your thoughts around that?
Okay, so that's a very good question. For the scope of this demo, we are working majorly with Jira software.
Okay.
We are not really touching much on Jira service management, right? So under the service, under the comment visibility, you see service management spaces.
Yes.
Spaces there. So for service management spaces, you have two options, right? Internally or share with customer.
Yes.
Right. So in our case, we just wanted internal only. There are no real customers in our use case, mostly developers and managers and team leads. So for software and business, you will click on that drop down.
Okay.
Based on the role, you can toggle the visibility based on the role within the project.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So if you don't select any role at all, then it should just be available to everybody within the project. It will be a public comment.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then talk about my comment here. So I want the response to come from Rovo. So I use the code bases to bring in the Rovo's response. Is this correct, or I have to trigger another one?
So this is correct because we are testing and you might have to run this more than one time. Can you uncheck that checkbox, prevent duplicates?
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you run it once and it has it, it won't allow it to run again. Like it won't add the comment again, you try a second time. So you can just uncheck that.
Okay.
And yeah, this is good. You can give it a spin.
All right. Thank you. Okay, epics, Mavimon incompatible components. So this is not called parent. So is it why, or is it cool for me to just have it as parent instead of saying epic parent? Or my incompatible flow will still work? Yes.
Apologies, I've been talking on mute. Can you scroll up?
Okay.
Let's check the trigger.
Oh, okay. So I was saying this one for my, so I selected epic parents, and so it's showing.
So that doesn't really matter, but let's check this scheduled trigger.
Okay.
Can you scroll down?
Okay.
Okay, so it will still throw an error. We try to save, but the error will be
Okay.
with the component. It's going to tell you it's incompatible because I ran into the same error the other time.
Yes.
And the reason it needs issues coming in from the trigger for the branch to work in. So to do that, you check the one in jQuery search box, that one.
Okay.
And you just let this run for all issues that the status is not done.
Status. So I also add my own secure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can just do status not equals to done. And I can equals to done.
Okay.
So you can validate query.
Okay.
So yeah, so uncheck that checkbox right below. No, not that one.
Yeah, this one.
This
Yes.
one. Then you save.
Right. Okay, that worked.
Okay. So you can give it a spin. So because it's scheduled, right, you can just manually trigger it. You can click on the three dots by the extreme right on the top.
Okay.
And just run scheduled flow now.
Let me check
So
my
yeah, you can check the box. Let's see. Can you click on the branch of related works? Oh, there's no drop down there.
No, there's no drop down.
Yeah, let's check the scheduled trigger in the logs. Maybe there are no tickets for it to work on. But that'll be weird. Issue 9.
Okay, so I'm seeing comment on period. Okay, here.
Click on the schedule trigger.
Yes.
Yeah, let's view associated work items. Okay, so does any of these have an epic? Can we check? No, they don't.
I don't have an epic. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they don't. So in your case, you can create an epic ticket and add some of these tickets under it.
Okay.
And
all right.
drag.
Okay. Thank you. So here, I don't think, so the issue here is I don't think I have any epic as the status. So I might have to add it. Is that okay?
Yes, that's very okay.
Okay.
So for software projects, right, out of the box, they usually come with epics. But in your case, you're using a business project, right?
Right. Okay.
So we just have to manually add it in.
Right. Thank you. So I have added one. So I create a page. Create and create that. So I have my epic to be design 10. So I can come to other tickets here. And let me see if I can have the parents now.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, so there's no parents on my
Work item layout.
Okay. So I can edit this. And, okay, I'm to add parents.
Yep.
So parent link, then different between both, or they have same?
There's a bit of a difference between both actually.
Okay, all right. So I've added my parents. So I'll save this. Then I come here. Search with. Okay, now I have my parents.
There it is.
Thank you. So I have added a parent to this. So should I go? I can trigger the automation again. Will it
Yeah,
work?
so for your Epic, if you can just navigate to the Epic ticket, let's add a few more tickets in there.
Okay.
So yeah, refresh this one. So we have
Okay.
one. If we click on
More of that.
yeah, you can just add them to the Epic.
Okay.
So now that you guys have taken the break, that means there was no break.
Apologies.
Yeah, apologies.
Okay.
There was no break.
Oh, sorry. Someone was awake. Sorry. Okay, so I have added more tickets here. Am I good to go?
Yes, you're good to go. Let's give it a spin now.
So go back to my automation and run scheduled flow. Okay, so this one said comment on parent, the branch, use Google, comment on the work item. Okay.
Yes,
So
so you can just check the work item, the branch flow related work item. Let's see the items that got caught up. Yeah, that's an Epic.
yes.
So let's check the comment section of the ticket.
Okay. So I have 4 comments. Okay. So you're saying you can't add comments.
Okay, so it's trying to tell you it's not able to carry out the task. Can we check the prompt again?
The prompt on my
And the Rovo component.
okay, so
Okay, like I said, this is broad. Rovo
okay.
is deciding to say maybe there's not enough context on the design tickets for it to act on. So
Okay.
let's say, can you go through the child tickets of Epic and give an update on what has been done? So that is a bit more precise. Let's see if that would work.
Okay. Let me go to the chart. Okay. So I can save this. Then this. Okay. Yes, I've done that. So should I stay on my automation and go to my logs?
So you can just probably just run it again.
Okay, I have.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's go to design 10 and refresh.
Okay, so it's
That is, yeah, say we should use
a Rovo agent with web search compatibility instead. So does that mean my Rovo is not compatible yet, or?
I think the settings for these systems might be a bit restricted because in my case, Rovo was able to provide an update.
Okay, okay. So that should be my own Rovo. Right. Thank you.
But like I said, and maybe we need another session for that, right? To actually talk about Rovo agents. A rover
Okay.
agent can do the exact same thing, and like I said, it's more defined. It has more reach. It can
Okay.
tap into knowledge bases and data sources that the LLM restricted within your instance does not have access to. So,
Okay. Right. Thank you.
you're welcome. All right.
So, Michael, you'll be going for the break now.
Okay. Do we still need more break? Let's go for 15 minutes break now. Okay, and I don't think I'll be going. Davis, go on.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask Michael, is it possible that the type of sites we use could actually also affect the way the rover works? Like for your case, you're using software for the software part of things. It's using business. I'm using product. Does it affect?
Actually, I don't think so, as long as it's a product within your instance. Rovo has access to data within your instance, right? And is able to actually, like that's where the value is, actually able to go into your ticket, look at stuff and summarize stuff for you, generate content for you. So off the top of my head, I just assume maybe Rovo is a bit restricted because it has its own configurations. Maybe it's just a bit more restricted on that instance. That could be the answer. Or automation might just want you to use an agent. Maybe that's where things are moving towards.
So the reason why I asked is because you used Rovo, used the same thing, but it's asking how to use a Rovo agent.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Let me bring up my screen. So Rovo that I used, full disclosure, is still in beta, right? Is a beta action. You can see it's still in beta, right? So when a feature is still in beta, it's still in testing. So it might not be as efficient as a component that is no longer in beta. So using an agent is known to work perfectly. But this might still be more of an hit or miss. On my side, it was a hit. On our side, it was a miss. So, yeah. Okay, so for the sake of Donald and others on the call, I think we should go for the break now. Hello, everyone. We will start in just a few minutes. We are entering the last session or the last round of the session. And to be more interactive, not too long, we will try to get input from you guys on common problems that you've observed, especially from you guys that use these tools day to day, or you use a similar tool and maybe there's a pain point that you currently experience and you'd like us to see if there's a way to automate it. So we'll be back in, I think, 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll kick off. Okay, we are about to continue. If we're back, you can just give me a thumbs up. Okay, thank you, Davis. Donald, are we ready to go? Okay, Jan's always done. Okay, thank you. Lawal, is everyone else ready to go? All right, let me bring back my screen. So this is the last part of the session, and I want to make it a bit more interactive. So I'd like to take an input. Someone should just probably describe an input that they currently experience at work, or how they currently work today that they feel automation can help with that. And we will see how we can try to build that out in real time on this call. So anything going through our mind, maybe there's a practice today at work that you feel it needs automation. I have some ideas for myself, my place of work.
Can we do something for a single developer?
Okay, a single developer.
Freelance developer. So I was given a contract to develop an application, a website. Let's take a website for a cleaning service company.
All right.
Can you work with that?
So, for a cleaning company. So you're looking at how to structure your work within
So how do
Jira.
I use Jira to work on it? You know, I know Jira is for tracking progress and stuff.
Okay. So we have a cleaning company website. You want us to,
That's called it donor cleaning services.
okay. So in our case, we would create, let's start with the very, very top. We'll create an initiative. Donut cleaning services. Okay, let's spin that up. Okay, so let's look at an high-level review of the components or the features, the key features of the cleaning company. What do you think the key features of the website would be? What are the things? Is it more like online visibility website just to have their presence online? Or are they trying to have little web apps involved in that website?
Just have their presence online for now.
Okay, so we're doing something small. So let's see. Let's create epics, just a few epics. So I want to change this to an epic. So for online presence, I'm looking at 3 epics, right? The first one is your UI UX. It's sort of wireframe for what the website will look like. You have an epic for the website content, to develop the content that will be on the website. And then the third epic would be to build out the website itself. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I think
Yes. Go on, Zainab. You have
no, I
your
think
own.
no, it's okay.
Okay.
So let's view epic and add it to our initiative. $62. Let's add a parent. So it seems the initiative within the project is actually not the hierarchical initiative. So let's see work types. Let's just confirm that quickly. That's MP4. Okay, so MP4 is a feature. So in the hierarchy, features are under initiatives, and then epics are under features. So let's take that into consideration. Let's change the work type.
How did you get donuts from?
Donut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you told me we could name it Donut Cleaning Services.
Okay.
Yeah, just a place over there. So for the work item types, I just want to add a feature. There it is. So let's save. So it will be our 61. Let's make this a feature. Okay. Let's give it some initiative. But now we should be able to add our epic to this feature. Do not clean services. And there it is. Okay. So we have UI UX design. If I click on this feature, there it is. So we just have two others to add. We want content for website. And website engineering. Okay, so within each of these epics, we can have the stories themselves. I'd like us to use for a single engineer. Let's create stories for website engineering. So build the database. And I want this to be a story actually. I want to build the database. I want to build the front end. I think those two are enough. So this is an ideal hierarchy.
It's not going to just give us an idea. This is why we don't do front end and build database.
Okay.
Next time we talk the back end.
Yeah. Well, database is more of the back end here. So I'm just trying to illustrate the hierarchy. So next is I'm trying to think of what can we do to help this engineer manage this tracking better, right? What are the little things we can automate for the engineer? Because right now we only have two stories, but in the real sense, there could be more. It's a more complex site. So let's see, off the top of my head, we can have a case where we check for all child issues under an epic. And when all child tickets are resolved, we automatically resolve the epic. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. It's a little bit similar to what we did earlier, but with a little bit of variation. So let's build that out then. Let's create an automation. Just refresh. Okay. So we want to design a system where when a story is resolved, we want to check if all the child ticket of that story is also resolved. If all the child ticket of the parent of that story is also resolved. In that case, close the epic. So what would our trigger look like? Work item. Let's check. So we have updated, transition, moved. So in our case, it would most likely be transitioned, right? We want to check when it's transitioned to a resolved state. That should fire off the automation. So it could be from any status as long as it's going to the done status, it should fire. So when work item transition to done, okay, we want to check for the parents. So and the parent in this case is an epic. So we could use epic parent, but there's something else that we could try using the parent field. So let's make it a bit more generic. Let's use the parent field. So for the parent, let's check. For the parent, if all the children match the specified JQL. So we have some options here. If all of them match it, if none of them match it, if some of them match it. In our case, we want all the children of that parent to match our criteria, which is they must be resolved, they must be done. So it'll be all match specified JQL. And what's the matching criteria? In this case, the status equals. Okay, that's a valid query. So if status is equals to done, then what do we want to do? We want to transition, we want to resolve that parent. So let's just search for transition, okay? We want to transition it to done as well. In this bare form, this looks like it should do it. So let's save and give it a spin. All parent children resolved and resolve parent. Okay, so when work item transition to done, for the parent, check if children match status equals to done, then, and only then, should you resolve the parent itself. Let's go back to our tickets. Let's click into the website engineering epic. We have 2 tickets in here, so we'll first resolve just one of them, which in that case, we'll still have 1 ticket that is not done. And for this to work, actually, we'll have to edit our workflow. So let's quickly alter our workflow so we can resolve from any status, so we don't get errors. So I'll quickly touch into the workflow. So for the done status, I can just remove this. I would add a transition from any status going to done. Let's call that resolve. Let's update. We are good. Get back to our ticket. Now I can resolve from to do. Okay. So if I'm to say I resolve this one, okay, let's check our flow and see if anything happens. No actions performed. Let's check the trigger. Yeah, that's the one, build database. Okay, that's the trigger work item. Our branch flow related work item, that's our epic, website engineering, good. It did not match the condition, which is accurate because the condition is to check if all children of a parent is done. So let's resolve the other one. And in this case, this is the last item for this epic, which would imply that all child tickets are done. So that way it should automatically resolve this epic. So here I'll just resolve this. That is 100% done. Let's see. Without even checking my automation, you can see it worked. This epic is automatically resolved and is done. So in a real life scenario, if you're working, especially from different screens, and you have lots of items here, you can be resolving this without keeping track to update the parent ticket. As small as this sounds, this is something that I build very frequently for customers. It's like a very latent feature, right? Because when you're working in an enterprise scale environment, you have lots of epics, you have lots of stories, and these stories are assigned to, you can have a team of 15 engineers, everybody working on their stories, resolving it at different times. It takes a lot of follow-up. You have times engineers will resolve their ticket, or they're done with the work, they've not resolved it, or they resolve it and the PM have to start chasing people, or the Scrum Master be able to say, okay, we are done with this ticket, we can resolve it. But with an automation, you don't need to come to start chasing people. Are you done with this? And then you transition it, and then you have to make sure everything tallies and resolve this. The moment they will do their work and anything or everything within a bucket of item, then an epic is done, it applies. Now, let's go a step up, all right? Because in the rule today, we use, or this time around, we use parent instead of epic parent. The other automation we wrote, we used epic parent. That was very specific to the epic EU type, right? But here we are very generic. We are doing parent children. That should also apply to epics and its parent, which is a feature. So if I'm to resolve this epic, right, let's check our rule. Nothing should happen. Without even checking it, you can see still in to do. Let's take a look at the audit log. No actions performed as expected. Let's confirm our epic is the trigger issue. Yes, it's our epic. Our parent is our feature. Let's confirm. Yes, it is our feature. Finally, let's resolve the last epic and see if our feature will also get resolved. Just to show you that this single automation works across all hierarchy, coming from initiative to feature, from feature to epic, from epic down to stories. This works across board. Very simple automation, but very powerful and very efficient. So here we have done, and we can just wait to see that is also done. So across all levels, that automation will keep track that whenever all child item of a ticket is done, it automatically resolves the parent. So this is a very good use case we have here, Donald.
Thank you, boss. Much appreciated.
Yeah. So
Do I
I
have
hope
to use all these
yeah.
features? These features, right?
So on a free plan, you have access to automations. Only a few features do you have to be on a standard or premium plan for. One of them is the one Davies specified the other time. To use Rovo, you need to be on, I think, at least a standard plan, right? You don't have access to that on the free plan. Also, and this shouldn't be a big deal, but there is something called Jira Service Management Assets, completely out of scope. If you're a developer and you're working with Jira software, it doesn't apply to you. So that feature is also a premium feature for Jira Service Management. But for Jira software, aside from the Rovo agent in there, you're good. All these conditions and all this stuff, you should be able to run automations fine. As long as you have the skill set.
Do it to subscribe for me.
Okay. Yeah, that would be nice. And personally, actually, I have my own personal instance as well, where I do some work management personally as a consultant. So Jira just makes things clear. It gives you goals, makes everything spelled out, and you can keep track of your work, you know. And this wasn't the case for me a few years ago, but you're surprised what managing work on a platform like Jira can do for you. You can look back 2 years and see the work you did 2 years ago. If you are someone that's committed to documentation or adding, you know, details to the work done, if you've done something before, you need to go back to it. Just come to that ticket within Jira. You have a documentation link. You can check it out. Everything comes back. You apply it. It can really be helpful to solo engineers. But the beauty is very clear when you see teams collaborating in there. All right. So, any other questions? I think.
Do it and collect my subscription money. Thank you very much for this.
Okay, Donna. Yeah. All right. So, any other questions? I think we are a little bit over time. All right. If there are no questions, I don't know if Lewis is there.
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, Davis. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. So mine is how do we, like a programs manager, manage multiple programs, projects using Jira? Do we create like spaces, a space for a particular project, another space for another project, or how would you advise?
So this is an architecture question about how you intend to use Jira. So I've seen teams create separate Jira software projects, and it goes to what you define as a project, right? Let me just spell it out that way. It depends on what you personally or as a team define as a project. If you're people that get customers or clients, and you have to manage that client's account in relation to your tickets, having separate projects would be ideal. It's fine. But if you're a tight-knit team, and again, if your work is kind of cross-functional, you can have work that cuts across multiple projects, which is typically what you'd have initiative and epics for. So I can have an initiative that has epics from different projects, right? And as a project manager, I'm able to track all those epics within that project. For example, let's say we have a UI UX design team. That team could have a separate project for the internal work. They call it probably the design project, like Lawal did, right? if I'm to create an epic for that team, that epic, it could be created in their project, but I'll have it under my initiative. So that way, as a manager, I have visibility on it. And for engineering, this could be created for the engineering team that probably would work out of their own project as well, internally. The guys building the features, the backend and frontend and everything. But the epic for all the stories, I would have visibility on it under my initiative. So it goes to what you define as separate projects and what you define as what you can call an initiative. What is meant to be an initiative, I've seen some PMs create projects for it. I have seen an instance with over 1,000 projects before. And do you know what got them there? Because they were creating separate projects for every statement of work that is signed for a customer. So let's say Donald is a customer, right? And Donald, the first agreement they have with Donald is, okay, build our front end and back end. And they sign the SOW, there's a defined budget for it. They hand that over to the accounts manager and success manager. Everything is tracked, right? They create a separate project for that. Okay, let's say they're done with that. They call that phase one. Then Donald comes back and like, okay, I want you guys to also help us act as a MSP, managed services person. They'll give a defined bucket of hours, right? And that's like SOW2. Do you know what they do? They create a separate project for that as well. And before you know it, there are some customers that get up to 7 SOWs. So they have 7 projects for a single customer. And they've been doing this over years. So you can understand how they go through 1,000 projects real quick. So when I got in there, we saw what they were doing and we're like, okay, this is not going to work. You're going to overwhelm this instance in little over, let's say, 2 years. So we re-architected, right, the whole setup. What they created multiple projects for their customers, we brought them away because they were in Jira software. We took them away from software into Jira service management because what they're doing is more of a customer client relationship, which is more ideal for Jira service management. So that is another question of architecture depends on how you intend to use the tool and if you're using the right tool. You were using the wrong tool for the right purpose. So they were repurposing Jira software management for. So bringing them into Jira service management, every customer became an organization within a single project. So what they created 7 projects for is just one organization. All their customers in a single project. Bye-bye 1,000 projects. Now they only have just one project for managing their customers and another single project for managing internal work. That was the end of it. 2 major projects from about 1,000. So again, it goes to how our work is architected. Does that answer your question? And I went a little bit long.
Thank you. So a follow-up question. Do you mean as if we have multiple projects, say we are building like multiple products, yeah? Instead of using software, we can use our management services?
No, because when you're building products, you are mostly working internally, right?
Yeah.
Unless the product you're building is for a customer that also needs to raise tickets with you guys for probably when they want to deploy a new feature, or maybe you guys support the product after launch, right? Mm-hmm. So there are 2 sides to it. If you're people that have long-term customers, that you don't just want them to send you email when they have questions or when they have requests, you can have a portal, a Jira Service Management project for them to interact with them. So that way they don't send an email, you have a very good auditable system to handle their requests. But for the product build, you can have a software project, right, for development team. And why I say that is these products have different strengths. Jira software can integrate with your CI/CD platforms like GitHub or Circle CI in ways that Jira Service Management cannot. So that way, your pull requests, push requests, commits, and all that can be done seamlessly within Jira software. And again, interacting with customers is better handled in Jira Service Management. For example, Lawal showed the other time how you have different comment visibility for your internal agents versus your customers. And that can be on a single ticket. I know that might sound like a lot, but again, different products, different strengths. Yeah, so knowing which one to use for product build, if you're dealing with dev teams, Jira software is the way to go. No questions asked. Interacting with external customers, Jira Service Management is the way to go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So any other questions?
Okay, so let's say we have different engineers working on a particular ticket. So let's say the epic you created for me, that's one of tickets created, right? That one that had the parent issue. So it had different subtasks under it. So let's say different assignees are on those tickets. So I don't know, what if those engineers already added their update to those particular subtasks? Can the automation or Rovo read through those subtask comments and add the task or add the comments back to the parent? Do you understand? I should come again.
Yes. And that was exactly what we had Rovo do the other time. Where it looked at stories and added a comment to the epic. That can also work regardless of the hierarchy stage. You can get comments from subtask and add it to a story, and then in turn grab comments from stories, add it up to the epic, so you can just cascade upwards like that, right? That is something Rovo can help with, certainly.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, and Rovo is not free, right? It comes with the premium side.
I believe standard upwards. I think there's something for standard for Rovo.
Louis said we should contact him.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's what he just told me.
Okay. Ah, nice. Thank you.
All right.
Louis, submit and agree now before they think I'm lying.
Okay, I'll give this back to you, Louis.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Louis.
All right, so we don't have any question on site.
You don't have any way.
Those of you joined virtually, I think you guys will end you now while we continue the rest on site. So for me on site, we have party jollof to eat. I'm sorry for you guys are enjoying virtual jollof rice.
Okay.
We don't want party jollof, we want the subscription.
Oh, we'll think about that.
Okay. I have rice in
All
my
right,
house.
that is nice. So I think let's just come on camera. So I will just get the screenshots for you guys on site online, and then you can feel free to drop off. And then I will get back to you all through the post-event recap, as well as the initial slide the speaker shared, and then also resources so you can learn more. And for those who are lagging behind, this session will be recorded, so I will share the recording as well, so you can watch it. And then the course I also shared before, we can still go through it and then pick up discussion in the WhatsApp group. So those of you who need help will be on today. All right, so please just come online. Let me take a screenshot for we who are online. Everybody, just come on camera. Let us take a screenshot and we're good to go. Thank you very much, Michael.
Okay.
Also come online. So, Endang, you came early, I've been quiet. Sarah, let's see your face. And Abubakar, let's see your face. Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right, so I will taking the screenshots now. Just 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think we are good to go. All right. So I will reach out by email. Adelanto, I will reach out to you And for the rest of you, I will send a mail to explain what I said earlier. Now you can get a voucher. I really want you to do something. So if you have not done it today, you have to do it in Monday. Go and try something. I will need an extension. I will see you. But for now, I need to see proof that you have done something right before I give you a voucher. So if anybody still need more, I can still plan for more after today. If you don't get it now, I can put you in the loop and get it afterward, right? But Adola already has that one is confirmed. So I have, I think, 3 more at least to go, 3 or 4 more. Let me see. Okay, if Adola gets 1, I have like 4, at least 4 or 5 more. So if you show me what you can do or what you've done from this session, and if you don't need it now, when you need it, let me know. I'll have it in mind. All right, so that will be all for now. I'll be ending the call now, and I'll continue for those of us on site.
Sorry, I wanted to ask Louis. So those on site are having party jollof. What about we online? What are we having?
I'll go to anywhere you can go. Just eat as much as you can pay.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for this session. Thank you, Mr. Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, everyone.
I'll see you guys in the email.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Michael. Nice to see you again. Oh, it's gone.